Yeah, we're live at the Gored Pub, home of Conan.
What? Did you say the pub of Conan?
I said the home of Conan, but yeah, that's probably better.
Conan, well, I won't be claiming the home of Conan because he's under copyright, and that's not mine.
That's true.
Matter of fact, it's just a Conan commission. Now, I'm a Conan fan, so yeah. I asked if you had read much for Conan because I'm thinking of illustrating a scene from one of the stories, but I don't want to do the common ones.
Okay.
So oh boy. It's gonna be one of them nights.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
All right. Tonight on the Gored Pub, we have two pieces of paper, a ruler, and a lead holder.
And some lead, and a pencil, and an eraser.
Okay.
Part of a phone. Anyway. So, you're the one that blasted the big, the big empty paper I had. You can share my space with your face if you want. Trying to look through some ideas because I want to do more of a composition drawing than, well, composition sketch than trying to do a more realistic Conan. So I started gathering some references that could come close. But I'm trying to figure out what the action of the scene is. I have some pretty good references, but like everyone does the Giant's Daughter, and everyone does Tower of the Elephant.
Yeah, you need help? I'm going to go. No.
Okay.
Eli.
I don't think he heard you. Speak up.
Hi, Brent.
Hi, Eli.
Eli, one by half a mom.
I guess it's a high buy because he's got school tomorrow.
Okay. So do I.
Right. Well, this is his last year.
Ah,
You're on the same time as me now?
You're on the same. You're on Eastern Standard Time, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That way.
Yeah. Well, like Michigan and Indiana used to have an hour difference during time zone season.
Yeah.
But now I guess they don't. So
Yeah,
that's
now
why
you're-
I had to ask because the last time I lived there, Michigan fell back and Indiana didn't. So we could go at 2 o'clock. We could cross the border into Indiana and drink for another hour. But then when we got back, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. So.
I only took about 15 minutes. Rather than go to where I'm from.
All right. So composition. Anyone that's already an artist probably doesn't need any help with composition. But traditionally, good composition for barbarian art, like a Frazetta type art, and what he used a lot was a triangle composition with triangle motifs. So, triangle composition. Can you see the triangle? I know it's pretty late for me, so.
Hold on a second. Let me try two things. Yeah, probably not. Hey, Jay said that his composition is that. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Jay said composition is by far his biggest weakness.
I think that it's a weakness for people that just don't want to think ahead of time. They just want to draw ahead of time. So I'm doing a rough triangle. And when you do a triangle composition, it could be point up, which is mine, or point down. So your visual aspects, like say if I have Conan at the top of the triangle, you might have a girl placed over here because that's a common triangle composition, or some enemies coming around him in that composition. What you want to do is try to get the lines to go that way. Like when I say the lines, I'm not talking about like the lines in the bodies or whatever. I'm talking about the lines of what's going on, whether it's background, whether it's the swords or whatever they have, so that when you follow their eyes, they go towards, and when not necessarily their eyes, but when you follow the edges of a picture, when you follow the details of a picture, you're following it to the main subject. So composition is really a lot of keeping in mind what you want to be doing to draw the eye around the page. And I think that's what loses a lot of people because they're not thinking of it in terms of how I want to direct you to look. They're more thinking of it in terms of I just want to draw something. So it doesn't matter what the composition is if you're actually just doing one figure and you're not necessarily connecting it to anything. But if you are, then you're going to do a better job with a sense of motion, a sense of control where you're directing the eye. So like that's why I stopped. I was the drawing that I was drawing. It wasn't bad. It's really a basic bodybuilder, but holding a sword back over his shoulder, and that was fine. But it wasn't really what I wanted. I think when I think about Conan, because I like Conan so much, I think he's harder to draw because it's being happy with that image. And then I start thinking about the images that I've seen Conan in. And like if you look on the covers, some of them they're focusing on basically his physique, but they're trying to put it in motion, and some of them almost look like a romance cover, and some of them look like vague. And what I got to thinking about is that like Frazetta often didn't clarify the face. He had the shapes of the brow cast in shadow, especially when you're doing a smaller composition. You're not going to be able to draw all those details. I mean, you might if you're doing it on a very, very small level, but for me, I'm not going to be able to do that and paint it. And this is ultimately for a painting. So what I was thinking is I like obviously I like physique, but as far as Conan goes, I kind of like the idea of him not facing you, because when he's in action and he's not facing you, you get to live vicariously through the character. Right? You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
so it's like if you're playing a first-person shooter game and you're walking around behind the person that's shooting, right? It's supposed to be your point of view. You can do it so that you're looking out the eyes and you just see hands and a gun, or you can do it where you're following behind, the character, but it's still you making the moves. See what I mean? So if you do your main character so that you really can't see his face, but you can see the action and you buy the action. That's the thing, is really you have to buy the action. But if you do, then the viewer pretty much gets pulled into the picture because they're in the center of the action. That's what's hard to decide because on the one hand, I like the idea of making Conan the viewer. So like you're the one that's following right in his footsteps. And on the other hand, I kind of like the idea of showing his, crazy barbaric strength and indomitable will in the character. But how much of that can you do from behind? So I figured if I do a couple of like compositional sketches,
I was just trying to think if, the whole not show his face thing, and if you are trying to cut through something, and you have some nice dynamic pose, but it's kind of weird to think as a triangle composition. I would hope my microphone was closer too. Wow.
you're kind of cutting out. With,
Oh, sorry. My microphone was nowhere near me. I'm just saying, I don't know. I understand the triangle composition concept.
Not just competition or composition, motif. So motif and art. You probably already know this, Brett, but
I know, but I know you're talking to other people.
Yep. Motif and art. Like if I'm doing a triangle motif, I will like you've got your main composition triangle, but then I've got a triangle formed of his arms, and the triangle formed of his waist, the triangle formed of his chest. So like in between him and the next guy, I have another triangle. That's it starts to show up in different places around. That then it becomes a motif because it's repeated there. You can do that with bends of the elbows, drawing a sword, the way they hold the sword. There's a lot of different ways to do that. And I'm picking a triangle composition just because it's easier. It doesn't have to be strictly this triangle. That's just giving me a place where I want to think about where I'm putting the action and what the action is.
Do right angle triangles?
What's that?
Does a right angle work for this?
Right angle?
Yeah, a triangle with a 90-degree angle for one of the angles.
It could, in theory. I mean, you're basically working from the points of the triangle. So, I mean, actually, if you were doing Conan here, and then you have this triangle that's your 90-degree, or that 90 or 45.
90.
What's that?
That's 90. I mean,
so
roughly.
Yeah, well, so if you put the long edges here and then you connect, so that the main point is here, the one that's like if you go like this, you can still make a triangle, but then it points, the triangle by itself points this way.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this it's pointing here, but because of the shape of it, it's arrowheading a little bit this way.
Right.
So that would be a good way to put your main focal character or whatever in the corner. It just depends on what you're doing it for. I mean, remember, a lot of the things that we're doing are what a lot of the things that I'm doing are illustrative. So usually in illustration, you don't want to go, and this is weird, but you don't want to go to the left. You don't want to aim the stuff to the left. You want to aim the stuff to the right or in the in the center. But you want to have them so you pretend it's a book cover, right?
Yeah.
You want to aim them towards where you turn the page to go inside. If you aim them towards the spine, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have the same impact. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do that, but if you invert that image, it's a more powerful image. Huh. Another thing that Rosetta does is let a lot of stuff fall into shadow.
I don't want to draw that.
Well, I don't think it's that. Like I am fortunate enough to be surrounded by plates of the drawings that he did for Fire and Ice, and I think that it falls into shadow because it's not supposed to be in focus. It's that directing the eye thing again.
Yeah.
But it brings into question what's the important part of the scene. So, like, am I showing a fight? Am I showing a mass migration? Am I showing, a depressed king on his throne? All of them have kind of a separate way of composing them to make you look, right?
Yeah.
To make you linger. And what's not important to show, say, maybe on like a king on a throne, you don't need to show like all of his veins. You don't need to show. You don't even need to show a whole lot of his body, because if he's leaning over or whatever, then it's going to cast a lot of stuff in shadow. So that allows you to not try to draw every single thing that you know should be there, but you're really not seeing. Conan is almost 7 foot tall. Unlike his Schwarzenegger counterpart.
How tall is Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I think he's like 6'1".
Yeah. That's weird. I mean, I don't think he's like a super huge giant or anything.
Who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just saying, I thought he was on the taller side.
Well, it depends on what you consider tall, right?
Well,
I'm pretty short, so 6'1" is pretty tall for me.
a couple of pictures here are showing 6'1" or 6'2". But
oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't matter because he was a bodybuilder and you're not focusing on his actual height. The only time you see that he's not like, the only time they really kind of show you that he's not very tall is when he's up against Wilt Chamberlain in the second one. But actually, the guys that he's fighting, the barbarians that he's fighting under both of him, those guys are taller than him too, as far as taller than Schwarzenegger goes. But Conan is a descendant of Kull, which that's why I keep saying they picked the wrong person to play Kull. That should have been Schwarzenegger or one of those really big dudes. Because Kull was in his mansion that he was supposed to be over 7 foot tall. So Conan, like as a 16-year-old, was 6'2", 6'3", or whatever, and grew from there.
Huh. Oh, that's kind of funny. So I, Googled to see how big Arnold Schwarzenegger was. Then I just hit the home button, got to the Google screen. Hadn't really been paying attention. It's got a bird lifting a log with another bird on top of it, I think.
Mm.
Oh no, it's bread. It's bread. It says Paris Games powerlifting. Yeah.
What?
Yes. Paris Games powerlifting.
And it's bread?
Yeah, baguettes. Birds powerlifting baguettes. Huh. But I was just looking up Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it's kind of funny. Oh. So you know how I normally have my setup. I have my laptop underneath my desk. I look through the glass of my desk. And, that's also where I put cans of pop. So I probably should wash this. So at first, like earlier when you said, can you see this triangle? And I was like, no. That was after I pulled it out from under the desk to see because I could see more clearly, right? And that's when I knew, no, I really can't see that. But I could see where your hands were going. I could tell it was a triangle, but couldn't really see the lines. But for a moment, looking through my desktop, your composition kind of looked like you know that Uncle Sam, we want you to join the army picture, kind of like that, but with the Pope.
Oh,
It's not that in any way, shape, or form. It's just when it got blurry, that's kind of because like you have the gentleman in the back doing this, so that kind of looked like the Pope's hat, sort of. And then you have the guys in front, kind of looked like an arm going out, kind of like his point. Just saying. Either that or the mushroom sauce on tonight's meatloaf was the wrong kind of mushroom.
I don't know. I ain't making any claims.
My son cooked really good meatloaf tonight. I was rather delighted.
Apparently.
Yeah, he knows how to cook it right.
We're very, very wrong.
Well, currently it's very, very. That was good. He doesn't like to have any kind of tomato stuff on his meatloaf, so they made gravy. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, I enjoyed it. So, my mom.
So he's really just kind of making mushroom burgers in a big loaf.
Sort of. I mean, my mom didn't put ketchup on hers, I don't think, or any kind of tomato, anything. Well, that's not true. She cooked it with stewed tomatoes. That was part of the loaf. It was weird because I swear those stewed tomatoes would come out tasting kind of like pepperoni. Loved it. My mom would also make her meatloaf on top of like potatoes, like thinly sliced potatoes. So it was almost like an upside down. It's not shepherd's pie because it's beef.
Shepherd's pie can be beef.
Oh, there's a difference. Cottage pie, that's what it's called. Shepherd's pie is lamb. Cottage pie is other stuff.
I've never had lamb shepherd's pie.
I'm telling you.
Everything that I've had that's called shepherd's pie has hamburger in it. Just saying.
I completely
I'm not saying
believe
it's
you.
right or wrong. I'm just saying.
I completely believe everything you're saying. But I'm also telling you, there's a reason why we have cottage pie and shepherd's pie. And I could be switching up. In fact, I'm going to look it up. But the one has lamb and the other one has anything else. And I'm pretty certain shepherd's pie is the one with lamb because you had
Because it's
shepherds. Yeah.
But I'm saying that's never heard of that.
Yeah, the only significant and steady difference between shepherd's pie and cottage pie is the type of meat used. Shepherd's pie traditionally features ground lamb. Cottage pie recipes call for ground beef. Yep, and people call them the same thing all the time. In fact, that's why I so 100% believe you that everything you've ever had as a shepherd's pie had ground beef in it, because for a long portion of my life, in fact, it's hard for me to remember cottage pie. So I completely agree with
I've
you.
never heard it called that. So
It's
something
watching
new.
up food porn videos, and I promise you it'll come up.
I don't have time for that shit.
Oh.
I barely have time to watch any movies or whatever. So
It's kind of funny. The other day, I was having a hard time getting motivated to write.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time too, but I'm breathing some exhaust like fumes in all the time.
Here's here's what I started doing. Uh, if I'm not writing, I have to do schoolwork. So, like, I'll make a vocab list or something, or make questions for it or something, and having to complete that task so makes me want to go back to writing.
Well, so my problem right now is that I'm writing a girl's character,
Yeah.
and you know, like to a degree, I think that guys and girls are kind of the same as far as thought processes go, like in dangerous situations and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the situation kind of uh, it's a girl by herself, and there's a lot of dangerous stuff going on, and she's not. She's 12, maybe 11, 12, something like that. And not only is it kind of hard to write girl characters to make them not feel like just cardboard cutouts. um, it's doubly hard when they're going through that whole puberty thing, you know. So I'm trying to be honest to the character. I'm not trying to get into puberty, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to make that a very loud factor in it, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's kind of interrupting me a little bit, I guess. Like I don't even know how to put it. It's just kind of making things a little bit difficult. Like if it was a guy, I'm writing an action scene, you know what I mean, and it's not a big deal. But a girl has got to have that extra mental.
Well, I got to tell you, after some recent time around people that age, if I were looking for writing advice for that, I would think of Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets.
Yeah, I'm watching.
Well, well, golly, it's not even that bad. It's just, I'm just putting the quote here in the private chat, and I gotta tell you, that's pretty much that nails it to a T.
Well, let me look. Yeah, I've seen a quote from him also that was, I think around the time that he did the two Jakes in Chinatown,
Yeah.
that basically says, hold on. the same thing, but a little bit different. So, like,
Oh well,
I
no,
don't
I
think.
don't. It ain't that. No. I would not say that at all. I would no.
No, that's what he said when asked how he writes women so well.
Well, that is not what I would say I have observed. So, I the especially at you get a few kids that the girls are nearly at the like. I realize it looks like they're just starting puberty, but they're a lot closer to being done than the boys are. The boys are just barely, if at all, getting started. Very few of them, and the difference, gosh, it's huge. And I, wow, it is stunning, and there is, at least in my experience, it's kind of funny. There is a reversal of who is generally more difficult to work with. But I would say that the challenge is writing someone who's not dumb but doesn't know a lot.
Well, so I've known a few girls that age as well,
Yeah.
and some of them know more than others, and it's
Well,
pretty clear, like really clear. And others, they don't focus on what's going on around them as much as focus on what they want or what their particular interests are, which generally at that age has something to do with boys.
yeah.
Like I'm not, not making too much commentary on it because that's the problem that I'm having is that I can't put myself in those shoes. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying very hard to be honest when I write this girl, and somehow I'm having a problem because it doesn't feel as honest as it should, or I feel like I'm writing her older than she should be written. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she just I don't know. Like I don't know where that line is drawn between because it's right on the verge of maturing, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I say maturing. I'm not saying that they are mature after that. I'm saying they are more adult-minded than little kid-minded. See what I mean? And
Yeah, I get it.
having a hard time articulating right now. So.
So that thing with NaNoWriMo saying that if you disapprove of the use of AI is ableist.
What? Like, right?
It's like, isn't every competition to some degree, I don't know, ableist? Because you're trying to find who's the most, I don't know.
I'm not sure if they articulated that right or not, because it sounds like ableist is the opposite. It's not someone that's not using AI and using their brain. That's not enabling them. The AI would be enabling them to not work as hard, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like they got it completely backwards.
I think that, well, I mean, I suppose it's a matter of degree, but I kind of think of it like socialism. Everybody likes a little socialism. It's just how much you want socialism. Like, I don't mind the fact that there's welfare. But I don't think there should necessarily be just. I'm not really into the whole. The closer you get to communism, the worse it gets. So I tend to skew as close to free market as I can, but I also understand sometimes you need help getting out of a bad situation. And a little bit of a safety net can encourage risk that helps push things forward anyway.
So help is one thing.
Right. Right. That's how, I mean, help.
But help, when I don't know about you, but when I talk about help, I expect that help will end at some point in time.
Well, see,
You know?
that's what I think about with, like, I don't know if you've seen the new ads for Grammarly. And Google does it too, and I think probably whatever that Facebook one is. But they're pushing this idea. Let's get back to Grammarly, because Grammarly works better. It used to be Grammarly would check your grammar. It might make a few suggestions, but overall, that's it. It didn't do it for you. It might say, hey, you've done this, and maybe this might work better or something, or if you want to, whatever. They offer suggestions, and I've used it, and normally it's like no, yes, no. It's like you're just. But now they're saying, oh, here you need to write something. Let Grammarly do it for you, and I just that's too far. If Grammarly can do it for you, why does your employer need you at all?
Right.
And also, I'm sorry, but those claims that Grammarly can do it better than you, that just says that your skills suck, because Grammarly can't do it that well anyway. But hey,
it doesn't say much.
What?
I said, yeah, it doesn't say much for your skills.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's one thing, like I said, one thing to help, but it's another thing, when that help never ends, it always goes on and on.
Yeah. Or it's just doing it for you. What AI tries to promise is that all those people that had those ideas that they thought would make great novels, but they didn't want to learn how to write, so they would try to pawn it off on people that were trying to write. I'll give you the idea if you give me 50% of the profits, that kind of thing. And AI has stepped in. AI has stepped in to kind of be like, oh yeah, just all you need is an idea, we'll do it all for you. And it doesn't.
Effectively, right?
Yeah, if you want a piece of crap, I mean.
Well, I've seen some short stories written that way. I say written, I use the word very loosely.
Yeah. Generated that way?
Yeah. An author I know of that writes grimdark fantasy gave AI like 3 different AI generators cues, not cues,
Prompts?
yes, prompts for stories, and we wanted to keep it at like flash fiction level so that so that it wouldn't have to do a lot of plots and subplots and all that. And what he did was he had some actual human writers write some stories, and he had some AI stories that were based on different ideas. And he posted them on his blog, and he asked the people that were reading his blog to tell him which one was which. And
I think I saw this.
They did like 50-50 or almost, I want to say it leaned more towards the AI being thought of as human.
Huh.
So I mean, it's kind of pretty weird, but also the qualifier for that is that it was a short story, so it was not very long. They didn't have to sustain it very much, and it could be almost a poetic short story, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't have to be any specific. It didn't have to be any specific thing. It just had to be fit within the short story. Perimeters. So, like 1,000 words, and it can be an implied ending, and you know what I mean. It's like it takes away some of the limitations that humans put on ourselves.
Oh, to make it done and good.
Well, I'm not gonna make. Yeah, I didn't read all of his criteria for giving the prompts. You know what I mean? I read some of the stories, and I see the difference in the stories that people thought were stories by humans versus the stories that people thought were stories by AI, because they didn't seem to have, like, the human flash fictions, a lot of them didn't seem to have clear endings.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, because the AI likes to slap an ending on everything. Like I've seen that. It's one of the tells. Like you can just. They try to round everything out, no matter what. Like, yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, and this was, I want to say, a couple of years ago that this challenge was done. So.
Did you ever watch Manimal?
Manimal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the other night about a character who is basically the love child of Manimal and Swamp Thing.
So he was Swamp Rat?
Oh, that's kind of funny. That might change my perception of the whole thing.
He could become a gator. He could become a catfish.
Oh, I was thinking something a little more amalgamous, but
Oh, I was just.
I know,
Funny, I guess.
and it was. I chuckled. I appreciate it. Anyway,
So, why were you thinking about crossing animal and swamp thing?
that's literally 9 times out of 10 how I fall asleep is thinking of different characters or story ideas. I have done that ever since I was little. When I was little, it was always copyright material that, whatever. I would fall asleep thinking about, I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
The guy from, what the heck is his name? Lion-O. Thank you. I kept thinking Leonardo, and I'm like, no, wrong franchise. Lion-O and like He-Man fighting, because that's my age, or I would just think like, what would Lion-O add to He-Man's assembly of friends or whatever, the heroes of Eternia, like just that kind of thing when I was little, and then as I got older, it became a little more complicated. And
I used to play games that were basically acting out stories and movies and whatever, like my own stories and movies. So.
Well, I would do that, but I would do it with toys. So
yeah, I would do it with my cousin.
But that's what kind of led me into different, it's just kind of how I think.
Take a cardboard box, like a big refrigerator cardboard box or something like that, and turn it on its side, cut part of it, and then decorate it up to look like a TIE fighter or some shit like that, or an X-Wing.
I think it was either Tuesday night or Friday, because that's the last 2 streams. But I don't know what exactly we were talking about. I just remember, we were talking about the Scourge of the Underworld, the Scourge, and that character, and how I always thought it was kind of funny that he seemed to kind of be there when Marvel decided there was bloat. Get rid of a few. And just that got me thinking about, what if there was a Justice League, but one of the characters is really there to cut down on the bloat, and they don't know that. So then I was thinking about, how would you make a superhero team that seems remotely interesting, unique enough to want to write about, but recognizable enough so people know that you're, I guess, kind of the Watchmen thing, when damn well who is supposed to be Batman, and you can kind of, the similarities with the characters. So it's just that kind of thing, I suppose. So I had to come up with a character who's not Batman, but that's Batman. That kind of thing. and or that fills that role for that trope, I guess, so that uh, it makes sense when you find out what's going on. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. What's up, babe?
I'm going to bed.
Hmm?
I still don't feel lovely.
Did you bring me a beverage?
Nope.
Okay. Love you.
I have a Gatorade over here you can have. It's a white one.
Ooh. Let's see if she chucks it across the room to see if I can get a black eye.
Oh!
Oh my god. I wish you guys could have seen that. That was the best throw ever. It
You know what? I have vision deficiency.
That's true. She's half blind.
Butthole.
Oh my god, but she threw this. And, yeah, it's like 5 feet away. Hit the wall. About went into the closet.
You make fun of people with disabilities.
Because I like my beverages shaken, not stirred.
When I first taught my wife to shoot, she literally couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah?
Yep. That was a really gun. She's better now, but
Oh, goodness. Well, ever since Rhonda had the stroke, I have to say she handles it a heck of a lot better than I could. So,
the keywords are, I have to say.
no, that's just honest.
I'm just kidding because, you know, when you qualify that with I have to say.
Right. Well, I mean, she was
I
young.
have to say.
She was young to get a stroke, and then, I mean, yeah, it's one eye that's just. I guess it's like she says, it's like trying to watch scrambled porn. So,
Wow.
if you've ever, seen the scrambled cable, I guess that's the more PC way of saying it.
Well, you
Then
can't back out of that now.
whatever. The only reason why you stare at that is because, you're flipping through channels and all of a sudden you see boob right before it gets contorted into a horse's head. So you're like, whoa, maybe it'll come back. Stare at, and kids today have no idea. They have no idea what scrambled channels are like.
Yeah, because they could just look up nude images or whatever.
I know. They don't know the struggle. So anyway, I would, yeah, I would have to say, yeah, she's a lot stronger than me in that respect. Although, this is how you know I love my wife. See, she has this thing where she likes to scare me. Like if I'm taking a nap or something, she has this fiendish joy in waking me up and seeing if I'll die of a heart attack. And now that she's blind in one eye, it's real easy to sneak up on her. Real easy. And I don't. So that's love, okay? have you seen that stuff? Like something. It ends with like very demure. Like some influencer said something and very demure. It was something very demure, and I'm like, why is this a thing? Just why? And I'm an old person, so one of my students was like, "How old are you?" And I told her, and she's like, "You're older than my mom."
Mm.
Like,
And
yeah.
you just went down from a C to a D.
No, I mean it's just the worst part about moving to the middle school is that point in my career when I have the child of a former student just got a lot closer. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was I was already in the realm where it could be, because if you teach anywhere for 16 years, chances are, I mean, you're starting to go into that realm.
Yep.
I mean, I suppose technically, I remember when I wasn't student teaching yet. I was doing like practicum stuff or something, and we had to volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club in Muncie, and there was a girl there, somewhere between, I'm going to say 11 and 13, who was pregnant. And the worst part was, if I remember correctly, it wasn't her first.
Yeah, Amanda said that our oldest boy and her had the same first grade teacher.
That happens.
Okay, yeah.
And she's your age.
Oh, I sent my mother a birthday card recently, and my parents were 30 years older than me, and I put down, let me see, you're 30 years older than me, so that makes you 55. Yep, sounds good. Hey there. How's it going? Okay, that's understandable. Rich had to step aside for just a moment. So I'm here to entertain. So please subscribe to my OnlyFans. Or else. Oh. Yeah, I have nothing to talk about tonight. I'm a terrible co-host. I need people to talk to me. Oh. Yeah, this is fun and entertaining. I apologize. What have you been up to, Aaron? Anything fun? Oh, the new school is great. It's great. It's great. Love my job. Love it.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, thank God. Because I'm terrible. Ugh.
that was pretty dumb ass call.
I'm sorry.
No. I had to get a blood test today, and apparently
You're pregnant?
they checked my blood sugar, and they were freaking out about what the blood sugar level was.
Yeah.
But I had literally just eaten the brownie, and I was like, he was like, it's X amount, and I'm like, it's not now because my Dexcom tells me it's much lower than that. So he was freaking out, but if he's freaking out at 9:30, and I had the blood test at 2:30,
Yeah.
it's a little bit late. So if I was having a diabetic reaction, I already had it.
Yeah.
When you called, he asked if you were available. I wish I would have looked at it. God, I better go on. What you call me?
Well, you didn't know he was about.
I know, but I would have been like, no, you missed the phone on that one, dude. 7 hours ago.
Yeah, he died.
Oh.
Ambulance would have been out a while ago, man.
And then he's asking me where he's seeing me. I'm like, wait a minute. Shouldn't you have this information?
Yeah, you'd think. Everything that I swear to God, everything's connected here. It's annoying. I mean, sometimes it's good, other times not so much. So I don't like it. I don't know. I get paranoid when people start knowing way too much. Ugh.
Well, I guess that would be on what I thought was knowing way too much, right?
I guess.
This is a specialist.
Right. I'm just saying I don't like it when they're like, I don't know, they're going, God, everything's like, oh, hey, aren't you due for a checkup with the dentist? It's like, shut up. Like, I came in here because I have a cold. You know, it's like, and I understand going to the dentist is good. Got it. Wonderful. Not saying that. I'm simply saying I don't need you to nag me. I don't know. That's just me. And I'm annoyed that my regular doctor can see all that. And I'm just like, how about we focus? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get it. I don't like it. Like, I get there are different medical conditions if you don't take care of your mouth and all this stuff, but that's the dentist's job. I don't know. It's not my doctor's job. I don't know. I feel weird about it. I'm just like, just stay in your lane.
Right.
Of course, I'm sure if it was something like, I don't know, something. Somehow they're like, oh yeah, you had a weird, freakish gum infection that was life-threatening, and the doctor caught it. That would be great. But then I would be happy that they, whatever. But it just, I don't know. While I'm taking care of myself just fine, just stop nagging me.
Right.
So I had this thought the other day because it was Labor Day and everyone's like, oh, if you like a 5-day work week, like a union and all this stuff. And there's something to what they're saying. I'm a member of a union, begrudgingly. But I am a member. But if you really start thinking about it, people talk about you need a union to protect you from the evils of the corporate world. Okay. But all the unions are big corporations. So, like, the teachers union here, which could do with some strengthening. Just got into a big row with their own employees because their own employees were saying that they were being taken advantage of by the teachers union. And it's like, well, I'm not overly surprised that a union tries to screw people, or any corporation sure tries to screw people over. But I just don't. So I don't really see unions as anything more than any more, at least. They generally are little more than kind of a mob protection racket. So, they help represent you when you're talking with your boss, sort of. So, I don't know. I find a lot of these union rules. Maybe if I was part of a stronger union that actually helped, that would be better. But kind of the union in Indiana, the teachers union, is not the strongest. And part of that is just the state legislature has just so decimated the bargaining rights. And what that's done then, it's decimated the bargaining rights of the individual too. Because you can't find a school that you want to go to a private school, which is going to cut your pay dramatically. If you go to a regular school, the contract will be negotiated by the union. And the most you'll get is a vote. But if you want to see what's in it, you have to be a member of the union. It's like, that is the stupidest thing ever. And I don't like that my contract is negotiated by other people who, again, don't necessarily have my best interest at heart. They have their best interest at heart. And normally the people negotiating, it's not like they hire expert negotiators. You have all this money and they get teachers to go in and negotiate. Why don't you get lawyers to go in and negotiate? But, what do I know?
Right? That's a big question. Why not?
An agent that goes in is going to negotiate hardcore. So, but they're not going to say, all right, we support you when you negotiate for yourself, but we need part of the money. Oh, and you got to vote for who you want to negotiate for you. And if you want to negotiate, you have to be approved by other people. And it's just like, this is... does not seem to be a system set up for success.
I know unions are touchy subject, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, they kind of remind me of the whole science fiction fantasy writers of America.
That's a union.
Well, so what I'm getting at is that when they started, it was about unity, and if somebody was, not keeping their word of the contract, then you have some some power behind you.
Right, you had some pool of resources.
But then you take in the publishers that you would be like withholding from or fighting against, and allow them votes because they're now members of that quote unquote union, right?
Right, because it's a corporation that wanted more power. They don't really care
Right.
about helping you. It's their interest, not yours.
Yeah, they started off helping, and that's what I guess what I'm saying is that they they kind of remind me of that because at one time I believe that they were there to help, and then something changed over it, like, ooh, we can get an opportunity to have an inside man or whatever, but that's not true. It's the other way around. The
Yeah,
inside man is in your organization, and now he has a vote, and he can sway other people. And if he doesn't sway other people, he can listen to the plans and warn his bosses, right?
right.
So, like, it's a lose-lose situation for anybody else. Like, if you're not a part of the bargaining power, and you're pretty much screwed. And so when you say, why send a teacher to bargain, right?
Yeah,
They don't have real standing. They just know how the other teachers feel.
right.
They don't have any legal recourse. They don't know what their legal recourse is or could possibly be.
Now I'm assuming at some point, a lawyer has to be involved. God, I would hope. God, I can't imagine that there isn't one. But the bargaining team is composed of teachers. That's all. And I'm sure that it eventually gets sent into a lawyer at some point. But I don't think the lawyer's negotiating. It would be like if I brought a contract to a lawyer that I'd negotiated and asked them, "Can you check over this to make sure it's legal?"
Right.
They're not advocating for me at that point. They're just checking. Yeah, they can do that. Yes, you can do that. Okay, that's fine. That's as far as it goes. And with teachers, and that's the other thing. It's like, okay, so you can. The only thing that the union can negotiate are wages and benefits. Nothing else. And so they'll say, well, we can't negotiate your contract hours. And it's like, well, then how do I know how much I'm getting paid? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, so, and this year, the school just said, yeah, you'll stay 30 extra minutes because reasons. Didn't negotiate with anybody. Didn't talk to the union. Just said, yeah, you'll stay 30 extra minutes. And then the union started to actually throw a little bit of a fit. They had a little bit of a talk, and then it was like, all right, you don't really have to stay. It's like you do, but you don't. It's the weirdest thing ever. So it's all dumb, but whatever. Yeah, I think at a certain point, unions, like when they start, it's in the interest of the members. But then eventually it gets large enough where the members are the product. They're not the customer anymore. And
Right.
that's kind of the problem. So it's kind of weird. The students took this assessment, and it's a diagnostic tool. And the data we got back, to me, was really positive. Even though it's not good data, it was one of those things where the bright spots of the data I thought were really encouraging. More so than the dark spots, which were discouraging, but I think it won't be as big of a problem. I don't know. It's one of those things where phonics and sight words were really high, so they have a foundation that's strong. But what I really think it is, because everything else, like the reading comprehension, was real weak. It's like, whoa. They get phonics and they get the sight words. It's kind of hard to say that, okay, so you can't read. You're telling me these people can't read, but you're also saying that they can read. It's like, it's stupid data. Except for if you start throwing in, at least in my opinion, I guess, this is my hypothesis. It's not that they cannot read and comprehend. It's that they have no endurance or no motivation to do so. So they look at these tests and they don't read. They just guess, or they go very, very quickly. So they're rushing, whatever, all kinds of different reasons. But there's a cure for that, in my opinion. That isn't super difficult, because what I started doing was 3-sentence paragraphs, and I would give them 3 to 4 questions over the very tiny paragraph. And I've only been doing this for about a week, so the data is not real huge or anything. But the scores aren't bad at all. So the preliminary data suggests that, yeah, if it's short enough, they'll read it, and they get it right. So it really is a matter of just having the stamina. And I think so. Like I've done 5 at 3 sentences. I think after that, I'm going to start pushing them for a while into 4 sentences, because it won't be visually all that different. And just kind of the couch to 5K method of getting them to read more, so that you just do a little bit to just build up the strength and the muscle and the fortitude to do that, and then gradually, slowly push them into larger and larger texts until they realize, yeah, it's really not that complicated of a thing to read this. Like they're grousing about like a page and a half as being too much reading. I gave them an initial reading assignment that was about half a page, and a lot of them were grousing that it was just way too long. And okay, so it's way too long, whatever. The problem is not to say get over it, it's not that long. Or I guess the solution is not to say get over it, it's not that long. I think the solution is to try to change their opinion on what is long. So, like I had that switch early on in my life because I like to read, and I realized, because people were like, oh gosh, I have to read a book for something. It's like, okay. But when you like to read and you like the stories, don't you want a longer book? Like if you're enjoying it, you want it to last. So, yeah, I started wanting to read larger and larger, which is why I was reading novels in grade school, just because I wanted it to last. But
So my problem wasn't like it, it was more about choosing what I was reading.
yeah,
Like I didn't like to be just told what I had to read.
right. Nobody does.
I want
That's
to
the other
be
hard
able to
part.
read. I wanted to be able to read what I wanted to. I was an avid reader, you know what I mean. So
Oh yeah,
it's not the same thing as saying, like I I just didn't want to read or whatever, but I
well,
wanted
to
to
be
read. I
fair,
wanted to read something that I thought was interesting, and that's
the
not always what the assignment was.
the topics they include on these tests are almost always lame. And part of me just, I'm like, a good writer can make anything interesting. And you have not found a good writer for this topic. That's just because it's not interesting. Like, it's just boring text. And it can be done better. Now, to some extent, yeah, once you assign something, it's rare and difficult to actually like it, I think. So, like, I remember liking only a few books in high school. And part of that, I think, is because they were assigned. Whereas I was reading all kinds of stuff. Just, I didn't necessarily want to read about terrible people doing terrible things to terrible people, which is what a lot of the stuff you read in high school is. But the middle school topics, I'm just looking at this and I'm like, oh, like the first book story we're supposed to teach is called The Rogue Way. Okay. It's not terrible, but I'm in the middle of Indiana. There are people who thought that Peru, the town like, I don't know, 15 miles away, was Chicago. Like, I don't care if you don't know that it's Peru, or Peru as they say, but these people don't know, can't recognize if they're in Chicago, and we're reading about the ocean because they've never seen it and they can relate to that. And I'm not saying none of them have seen it, I'm just saying that there's a larger population than what you might think that has never left this town.
I'm sure, and that's like, so. Wasn't that Footloose?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's a couple.
What's that?
That was the oh god, what the hell is that movie? Hold on. Yes. Let me find that. This will tell me what it is. Come on. The Village. Yeah,
Oh,
The Village.
I hated that movie.
Oh, I laughed so hard. God, I laughed so hard.
Stuff so that it was going to be, it's M. Night Shyamalan. And I haven't really ever seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie that I was like, oh yeah, it's M. Night Shyamalan. I want to see the next one.
I really enjoyed The Sixth Sense. I enjoyed
I
Unbreakable.
knew exactly what was happening from the very earliest part. I
Okay.
did not want to watch it. I wanted to watch The Bone Collector instead. And we were on a double date. And the woman that we were on the double date with was like, I'm not going to go see any movie if I can't see this movie. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking great. But yeah,
Well,
so no, I mean, I didn't enjoy it at all.
I liked The Sixth Sense. I liked Unbreakable. I liked Split and Glass.
I didn't like Unbreakable. I stopped Split
I enjoyed Knock at the Cabin, even if I thought it was a little, I don't know, obvious.
What?
Knock at the Cabin. It was just.
Nope. One of those ones that I missed because I was so impressed with the other ones, I bet.
Well, I would say, kind of in a way, Knock at the Cabin was kind of annoying because, although I guess maybe not. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about it. It's an interesting premise. There's a couple with a child, with an adopted child, that rent a cabin in the woods, and these three, it's four. It's got to be four. 4 people show up and say that they have to, the people that the couple and the child have to sacrifice somebody, or it'll be the end of times. And they can't choose. They can't kill them. It's got to be the couple and the child that make the decision. And then as they do things, like some crazy, crazy stuff happens. Like planes start falling from the sky and all this stuff. Like it's these different signs that are supposed to show the end times. So it was kind of interesting. I haven't seen all of his, like I never saw Lady in the Water. I saw The Happening.
I saw Lady in the Water. Wasn't impressed.
The Happening was terrible. And I originally thought that Signs was a god-awful, stupid movie. And then I saw a video essay on it, and I was like, oh, when you look at it that way, that's not so bad. So I was kind of, I guess, won over with the argument. Because originally it just, why would aliens come to a planet that's mostly water if water kills them? Like, it's just kind of dumb. But
see, the thing is if you have to be won over by an argument, you never really liked it.
Well, it's because I didn't understand the twist, and that's the best part, actually. I like that. I can admit I missed it, and what I thought was the twist, that water kills the aliens, isn't the twist, because that was just stupid. But that's what I thought it was, because that's in your face and obvious, and there were parts of it that I just had not paid attention to. And once you pay attention to them, I was like, well, oh, golly, that's different. And then it becomes, it's and the theory is that Signs is not about an alien invasion at all. It's actually about demons.
Yeah, I've heard it. It's bullshit.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Well, you like it so that you can like the movie, but it's still bullshit.
Well, okay, but I didn't have any reason to like the movie because I didn't. Because I thought the twist was stupid.
Well, no, you like somebody else's interpretation of it. That's like a Star Wars fan theory. You can like the fan theory. It can even make whatever sound good, but that doesn't mean that it's true.
That doesn't mean that it's false either, though.
Yeah, whatever.
It just doesn't. So there's, like, once you start asking some questions about it, like the fact that Mel Gibson's character at the beginning has renounced his faith, like, what's that have to do with an alien film? And why would aliens help you? Because he puts the collar back on at the end. So what's that like? Why would aliens inspire you to be more faithful?
There is talk about others in the Bible, so
Okay, but
there is.
yeah,
So, and that would infer that it was aliens.
I don't think that aliens in the Bible is a generally accepted doctrine in most major religions. And I believe
That's
the
where
guy's
I got it
Catholic.
from.
Okay,
It's in the book of Job. And they don't say aliens, but they don't say rhinoceros, they say unicorn.
okay.
Anyway, so
Well, it's-
one of those things that we disagree on, but that's all right.
Yep.
We can march on with disagreeing. We've done it before.
Oh, I agree. Because in the grand scheme of things, I spent a good portion of time since 2002 hating signs because I thought it was stupid. And then
I didn't
somebody
never did,
presented-
but I just
well, so it doesn't. It's not like it's going to hurt me if you don't like it because I've been there. You know, this makes perfect. I completely see it. If you don't like the theory that it's demons and not aliens, like then it's a
I just
garbage.
don't buy the theory. That's it came out much later after the movie, and I don't know. But
I get that. It's just
it doesn't
the
seem
aspects-
doesn't seem right to me, but it doesn't have to.
Like, the girl kept talking about how the water's weird and stuff. Like it begins to show like holy water. Yeah, there's just some of that stuff is just a little. Why is it all there? And ultimately, your argument is because it is, and that's a.
I'm not arguing anything for that movie. I don't like it.
Well, I'm just saying it's a perfectly valid argument. It really is, 100%. Which is why if you don't like it, you don't like it. It's not like it's my baby.
Right? No.
Now, if you said you didn't like Star Wars,
Yeah, the original. Well, I'm great with that.
yeah, I know.
All the rest of the garbage they put out.
There are a couple, like I never saw The Visit and I never saw The Trap, and I think I'd like to see both of those.
I'm talking about M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Yeah,
Yeah. I did not like Unbreakable.
okay.
Uh,
I just liked it as a lower. Well, I guess I'd have to look at it, but it seemed like a very grounded take on superheroes. So it was kind of nice in a way to see that, I think. And then I think Split is better than Unbreakable. And Glass isn't as good, but it's still interesting. Like the whole part of it, I like the take on the superhero lore and that kind of thing. I thought it was creative. So I like for me, M. Night Shyamalan doesn't always hit it out of the park, but he tries. I think he swings, and occasionally he hits. He hits enough that I would put him in the positive category for me. But he's definitely had misses, and there have been I can never get back the time I spent watching The Happening, which was anything but. It's just, God, that movie was dumb. But whatever, you know.
If you're going to try to swing for the fences every time, you're going to end up with some misses, you know?
Oh, somebody will come up with a fan theory and you'll like it.
Well, if it works. Well, no, because like if you look at Signs, like the acting wasn't bad. I didn't mind the acting at all, and some of it, like it was like I enjoyed it clear up until the end, and then at the end, the twist. Just I thought that is the dumbest. What the? That's just so stupid, and so if that's the exact part that I don't like, then. You know, and I wasn't looking for this thing. I wasn't trying to like it because I was pissed. I mean, I remember leaving that just pissed because the end of it was terrible. It's just like, oh, you had such a great setup and that's what you deliver? And I was, yeah, I felt cheated. And then, yeah, you're right. I hear a fan theory that makes sense, that explains the parts that I don't like, so that it lines up with everything that I did like. So I suppose M. Night Shyamalan could come along and be like, no, that's just complete bullocks.
Oh, he wouldn't, because if it makes people like the movie, he's not going to fucking stop that.
Well, I agree. He would be stupid to say that, I think, or at least egotistical. Probably both.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
But with
I
that,
think what you were saying about M. Night Shyamalan, that to me is Tim Burton. He's hit or miss. I mean, some of them he's hit really good, and some of it's really a miss.
bad. Yeah, I agree. But again, if you're trying, it's going to happen. Like, that's one of those things I think you kind of have to. You have to have a certain amount of courage to create something and really go for it, because you know that you can also miss. That's the when you swing for it. I would say that's when you have the least amount of control, and you know, yeah, if you connect, awesome, but if you miss big. So I think as a creator, you can't let that be bothersome. Like you just have to ignore it, basically. Go for what you want to go for.
No, like if I'm like writing something and nobody likes it, I tend to put it down. I tend to stop writing it, because if nobody likes it, then I'm not connecting with anybody. I'll find something else to pursue. That may not be the right thing to do. That's what I tend to do, though. So,
yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I've done it. And I suppose, I don't know if it's necessarily the wrong thing. If you're reading the room and you read it right, it's the same. Yeah, why are you going to keep doing it?
You know, it's funny because I hate the phrase, he's got a finger on the pulse of, you know, the teens, or got a finger on the pulse of whatever. Yeah. It's just such a bullshit generic term for
lucky.
He knows how to make something people enjoy.
And a lot of that can just be timing. Now, you might write something that someone basically writes another version of, but because you wrote it too soon, and so whatever was needed in the zeitgeist for it to work wasn't there. And then someone else, you know, writes basically the same thing, but the zeitgeist is prepared for it, and so it's successful. And the second work might actually be dependent upon the first,
I usually
And-
find it goes the other way around. Like I'm trying to write something, and then somebody else comes along before me and steals it before I get done.
Right. Oh, I've had that where, yeah, where I've been writing something. That might have been one of the problems with some of the stuff that was on Netflix that you thought I was the steampunk fantasy stuff. Some of it I was like, oh, well, that's just. It pissed me off because it was too close to what I was doing, and which pissed me off on the show. It's not the show's fault. It's just sour grapes on my end, right? Like I'm not trying to pretend like someone.
What show?
Oh, there was one. It's not Carnival Row, although Carnival Row deals with fairies, and I had stuff with fairies, and
Yeah, it's not the fairies I like from Carnival Row. Like, I guess I mean that's a lot of the plot revolves around them, but
what was it? There was another one that was on Netflix where there was like some kind of barrier, and I was like, oh god, because I had a barrier thing in mine, and I was just like, which was kind of funny because.
Well, you said something about steampunk, so I'm like, what do you know?
Yeah.
I think Carnival Row's on Amazon.
Is that on Amazon?
Yeah.
Maybe. Whoa. Hey. That was weird. I'm trying to see if I can find it real fast on Netflix, just so I know what the heck I'm talking about.
I know, like, I thought you would really like Retribution Falls.
I read that.
That wasn't a movie, but yeah, like I mean that's what I'm saying. Like I know that's pretty close to steampunk. I thought you'd like that because it's really a kind of combination of
Okay, my whole setup just decided, no, you won't be doing that. I can hear you, but I've lost one of my screens. Oh, there's, okay.
it's a kind of a combination of Full Metal Alchemist and Firefly sit on, almost a steampunk setting. Almost.
For the love. It's just really not wanting me to look in Netflix. It's like, yeah, I know. Every time you look, it's oh god. You just do it generically, I guess. Because I'm almost positive it was on Netflix. Well, anyway, there was something, and there was some big barrier, and they were trying to get through it, or there was, yes, something like that, and I think you even pointed it out. You're like, it's kind of like this, and I'm like, oh god, it is like that, and that just, killed that story. Haven't been back to it pretty much since. And now I'm just mad because I don't remember.
You know what the story was? Because that might remind me.
Well, for me, for the story, Shadow and Bone. That's what it's called.
Oh,
I'm most positive. Shadow and Bone. Yeah, I started
story
watching.
about a barrier, yeah.
And it's just kind of, I was like, god damn, because you start working on something, and it's not like. The novel, in my mind, was like a fantasy version of Disney's Black Hole. And there are wildly different elements to it, don't get me wrong, but that was kind of my inspiration for it. And my big concept or high concept, whatever the heck they call it. And it just I don't know. Haven't been able to figure out how to crack that in a way that makes me happy. So it sits and festers.
Don't generally do that with stories. Like if I'm writing a story and I watch something that's really close to the story, sometimes. But sometimes I just go, okay, how can I make this exactly the opposite? Or how can I make this definitely not that?
Yeah.
Because anytime I can say pretty much anytime that I've found something that I've been writing that somebody else has filmed, it's almost always a B movie or a version of it that I wouldn't have ever done.
Yeah.
So I try to find the strengths in what I would have done. I say try because you know how that is. Sometimes you just can't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I like the fantasy novel that I'm working on. I'm beginning to think I should stop trying to multitask, but that's what I'm doing.
And not so easy sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah, because there's only so much gas in the tank. And yeah. I feel like trying to spin all the plates is going to send them crashing. Whereas if I just, stop putting them on spinning sticks, it'd probably work out for me better. Just use one and I don't know. And part of it is lack of impulse control, I suppose. Like that superhero story that was inspired partially by our conversation last night really wants me to work on it. They're like, no. But it's interesting. I mean, I like the concept. It's a concept I've actually had for a while. That this was like a missing puzzle piece that kind of, oh hey, that fits, and ooh, this idea that never seemed to really be workable now suddenly feels like it might be workable. So.
Yeah, I come across something that I got to thinking about would be a good challenge, like your movie Monsters Meets Mafia challenge.
Yeah.
And I posted it to get opinions on, like, so basically the core of the idea is the World's Fair.
Yeah.
There's one World's Fair that never was. And then there was another World's Fair that was like a 6 month World's Fair. And then another one that introduced Asian culture, right? So I'm like, I don't know which World's Fair to make the challenge, so what do you guys think? So I put it up there because I was thinking it would be good to do like an anthology. That's what we were talking about originally, right?
Right.
With like exhibits at one of these, right? With a spec fic element. So I was gonna add the spec speculative fiction element after we nailed down what the time period was. And most of them are like late 1800s. So it's a time that you normally are interested in writing about as well anyway. So
That's because it's a super cool time.
well, I thought that might get the juices flowing. Jake jumped on right away. I gotta finish what I'm doing or I'll never finish it. He's gotta work on it to finish it, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see him finish it. Sometimes the finishing is the hard part.
Yeah, that's one of those things I keep thinking about. Steve Jobs, I think, said artists finish or artists publish or something like that. And
Is it?
and
I've heard writers publish, but that's
well, this might have,
anyway.
I don't remember, but just the idea of I don't know, of that yeah, if you want to do this, you have to put it out there. You got to start making sales. So.
Oh, God. I have characters that would fit for that.
Yeah.
God, when did you put this on Slack? I guess today, because I can look at the date. Jeez. I was asking when you put this on. I don't get notifications from Slack. Not normally. So
Put it on yesterday or the day before.
yeah, yesterday, and then you guys were also talking today, and I normally only go on there on Sundays. Occasionally I'll go on other days, but so yeah, I just hadn't seen this yet.
So can we talk about this on stream? Like, do you care if we talk about this on stream?
No, like it's
Okay.
just an idea for some short stories that we can put together eventually and sell. So
Okay, I gotta take a very quick break because
if you're comfortable talking about a story that you want to do, that's fine. Yeah?
yeah, hold on, yeah, just let me. Oh, hey, Allison's here.
Yeah,
So- Oh, sweet. I caught that comment when it came across. Because I was looking at Slack. So then when Allison showed up, I was worried that I had been rude. So it was good timing. But I have to disappear for a few minutes. I'll be back momentarily. And I'm back. Oh, I nearly died. So, it was a harrowing adventure. Oh. No, I waited. I was trying not to have to leave midstream. No pun intended. And waited too long. Run out of the bedroom, and someone's in the bathroom. I'm about to die. So I'm like, okay, I get my mind off this. So I run downstairs. I figure I'll get a beverage, and by the time I come back up, bathroom will be empty. Oh, but so currently the way the easiest light source downstairs as you come from upstairs would be to turn the light on at the front door and then turn the light on in the dining room. It's the lights in the living room are farther away than the dining room is, which is fine, except for
I thought you were going to say, then they appear.
the dining room light has a ceiling fan, and so someone left on the ceiling fan but turned off the light, and it's so dark down there, I couldn't see it to turn it on. Because instead of just turning it on and off with the switch, I had to find the pull chain, right? So I go out to the kitchen. Figure, screw it. I'll just get the pop. Like, whatever. And I don't know. It's like I don't know. It was dark. I couldn't see. I was hitting things. Then there was a cat. It went flying, probably screaming. I don't know. And I feel bad for the cat, but hello, I'm big. You're stealthy. You can see. Get out of my way. And let me tell you, when you're trying not to run over everything and you have to pee, and then you kick a cat in the dark, it's a little hard to maintain your composure. But I did, and I'm here now, basking in the afterglow. And Rich is like, that was an incredibly dumb story. Thank you, Brad.
I'm just still stuck on kick a cat.
Oh. You want to hear what's even worse than that? When...
Is this like a grosser than gross joke?
No, but we owned apartments, and we lived in one. And one night I'm thirsty, and I trip over the cat going out to the kitchen. Then I remembered we didn't have a cat.
Kicker?
Huh?
So you're a habitual cat kicker?
Well, you know, it's worse when you don't own any and you're kicking one in the night. So.
Oh no, that's the best time.
I was like, what? Oh, and what's even funnier is I was groggy enough that when I tripped over the cat, I was like, damn cat, and kept on going. Then I realized, wait, something's wrong. We don't have a cat. So, yeah, that freaked me out even more. So, at that apartment, it was a ground floor apartment, and the previous owner had the wall between the kitchen and the bathroom was partially open, and you could get to the crawl space through if you were small enough. Like a human couldn't, but a cat could crawl under the apartment and then up through the kitchen and get in. And I was like, oh god. And then I also got to thinking, well, if a cat can get in, that would mean mice can get in. So kind of don't mind the cat. uh, so anyway, your shared world idea. What is this Ghost World's Fair?
That's the one that never existed. That's a speculative speculative element for one of the possible choices. You know, it's only supposed to get the juices flowing anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like whatever kicks your brain into gear, right?
I just kind of like a World's Fair that's like reality adjacent. You know, like you had an experiment
Why not?
that went
It could be
wrong.
on an alien planet or whatever, but the prompt is World's Fair and some type of speculative element for the just exhibits.
Right. World's Fairs are cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I got lost in. I don't remember why I was looking up the World's Fair, but I think the purpose that I was looking it up is to see when the last one was and when the first one was or something.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the list of them, and I'm like, wow, there's the Washington D.C. World's Fair. It was like three Americas or something like that was the theme.
Yeah.
But it never happened. And I was like, I mean, I did I did read why it didn't happen, because there was, I think, 3 cities that were bidding for the World Fair, and they ended up going with Chicago or something like that. But like they did a bridge, like they designed a bridge that's there now that they designed for that World's Fair, but the World's Fair is not there. So there's things that they did that echo and that are around from that time, but they just never held the fair. So I'm like, well, what if there are ghosts that, you know, are related to it? I'm not usually a big ghost story person either, but I just thought, you know, the haunted fair that never existed, you know, that's kind of a weird concept.
Well, that's why I like the idea of when you say ghost, I just think of possibilities. Like, again, I mean, I guess it's multiversal, and maybe I shouldn't be worrying about this, but yeah, that it's like it should have been there, but it's not for some reason, and yeah, so ghosts are things that are normally things that died, but what if it's things that should have been?
Right.
And or things that could have been.
Or like an alternate universe, alternate reality coming through.
Yeah. So, although that Indians Congress thing that you had posted as well.
Yeah, that's the 6-month one, right?
And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of interesting because
Yeah, I had the concept of like a lawman and a grifter. Um, but I was worried it was going to end up being people would whine and complain about it being white savior stuff. And, and really what it is if you start playing that game, you can't win. So I should ignore that, I suppose. But
Right.
well, because I had this concept of how in Indiana Jones, have you seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
I've seen them all.
Okay, so
Well, wait a minute. No, I haven't. Like the brand new one, the last one that was out. I didn't see that. I didn't see that one.
I know the complaints that people had that they were trying to replace Indiana Jones, and
I just didn't see it. That's all. So I can't speak on it. If you're not talking about that one, then I'm
not. It's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It had you remember the guys with the carnations on their lapels, and they try to kill Indiana Jones a couple times, and
right?
Yeah, I think. And then they kind of do the same thing in
Memories in the Library, and he's smashing the tile.
Right.
Yeah,
those guys.
That's
the boat.
the guy.
Are you ready to die for your beliefs? Because I am that type of thing.
Yeah.
And they kind of have the same thing in the Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
They have, and I was like, that's very, very European, or Middle Eastern or whatever, but it's definitely Eurasian, I suppose. That concept. I was like, why isn't there something for North America? And so then I got to thinking about, so a lot of the mysticism would have come from Native Americans, and yeah, so having a white guy be the hero didn't seem to work, but also seeming, it actually makes more sense.
Have you read Tony Hillenan's books?
No.
He is, I think he's called, the official title is Friend of the Navajo or something like that.
Yeah.
He's a white guy that wrote mystery set on the reservation.
Okay.
And he's got Indian cops investigating these murders and these criminal acts, and so the good guys are Native American cops, but the Native Americans still can't stand them because they're cops, right?
Right.
So, when you're talking about having, not having the white savior,
Because Indiana Jones and whatever Brendan Fraser's character was in The Mummy both kind of do that. I mean, they really do. I get it, except for it's still an entertaining story, and I'm just like, I'd like to have...
No, go ahead. I'll finish.
I would just... So I kind of wanted to have a Native American version of the Magi, but so it's. But if you think about how many different Native American tribes there were and all that kind of thing, so
500 actually when they first started recording that.
and I just thought, okay, so maybe these people, they can see that they've basically they've gotten the short end of a stick, and their culture is pretty much over, and or at least it's not going to be the dominant culture. They can see that, and they're worried about some of their mystic art things falling into the wrong hands. So like it made it. I thought it made good sense to have a group like that, but it always seems like, or it seems. So here's the problem, I guess. Here are my problems. If I could ever finish a complete thought, if you have a Native American protagonist, which tribe, and how do you not emphasize one tribe over another?
Where are you putting them there?
Huh?
Where are you putting them at?
North American. It would have been the entire North American. And in fact, I kind of thought,
Well, there's a lot in North America. There's been 500 tribes. So when I say where are you putting them at, there is Lakota Sioux and Dakota Sioux.
right, I get all that, but when you look at the Magi template, where this is an organization that spans a large portion of the globe, if you have a Native American version, it doesn't really make sense to have it be one tribe when one tribe did not span necessarily enough, or if you have a larger tribe.
I don't think the Magi was supposed to span the globe. I think that they were fanatics that were following certain things. They may have had hooks into people that were in other places on the globe, but they might have followed the what the hell are you calling them? The artifact. And they might have followed the artifact from the dig through like a theft and a sales, and they follow it from there. But I don't think it's a worldwide organization. When I asked about like where you're holding it at with the Indians, is because though there are 500 tribes, there were very specific differences in their beliefs. So they didn't have like one overall magic belief.
Right.
They're, like the Lakota have a specific creation belief.
I understand that.
That's not the same. It's not the same. They're not the same magic or magic artifacts or belief in magic or spirits and all that as say the Micmac.
Right. And for me to have I didn't like the idea of picking one tribe and going with them.
Oh well, that's
so I wanted a more of a universal, like they get to, like the idea for me was they kind of get together and they say, yeah, we're losing, or at least we're losing out, and so they form an intertribal group to help protect various artifacts, and they didn't have to be that way. You could have an artifact from one tribe, and this group would be like, all right, we need to protect this, make sure it doesn't fall into Europe's hands, white guy's hands, whatever, or the wrong white guy, or at least the wrong hands, so that it's not necessarily anti-white. It's just recognizing that, hey, these things need to be protected, and they don't trust an outside group necessarily to do it, which is why it's like the Magi. And that story frame up works when you have someone who's outside, that concept works as a conflict. not necessarily in direct opposition, but you have to worry about them too. You got to get there. Like in the Mummy, they kind of fight a little bit until they realize, all right, maybe you're not so bad. And in Indiana Jones, again, they try to stop Indiana Jones until they realize, all right, maybe you're not terrible. And that kind of story dynamic was interesting to me. And
Yeah, I think you're going to have a hard time working that out with Native Americans because there's no unified, and that's what I was trying to tell you. There's not really any unified belief system.
I 100% agree with that.
You might find
Indian Congress.
The closest that you might find is there are like the Indian Bureau.
Yeah.
So you might want to maybe work with something like that, like it's an offshoot or a secret part of the Indian Bureau of, I don't know. But there's not like a unifying.
I know.
I tried that and it's really hard. You can't find the magic system or whatever that they would believe in because all of them are so different.
Well, that's why I like the idea that they're really there to protect artifacts from each culture from falling necessarily into the hands of the Europeans, it's American, but the Eurocentric, the Western hands, I guess, or at least falling into the wrong part of Western hands. And that is the second time. Let me see if I can show this. So, I was eating their gummy clusters, and I think this says something about the product and the people who eat it, like me. But this piece in my hand, I don't think is edible.
Is what?
Like, I swear this is plastic. Like, it doesn't want to break up. It's hard. Has no flavor. It's weird. Anyway. But give me an idea, Rich. So.
Okay.
Well, I forget exactly what you said, but I got the idea of having a character from the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I just didn't come up with the affairs part, but yeah.
But yeah, but it's like
the reference
it's like
to
the X. It's like the X-Files of the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Okay. The Tony Hillerman books that I was talking about, George Martin and Robert Redford executive produced them to become a TV series on, I want to say AMC, but right now on Netflix, the first 2 seasons are on there. And it's called Dark Winds.
Yeah.
So you've got a dynamic with a little bit of the magic beliefs of the Navajo, a little bit of the like a little bit of kind of a murder investigation, bank heist investigation, and the clash between feds and the tribal police. So that's it. Definitely binge watchable, but it is. Well, I guess it's supposed to start taking place in 1971. It bounces around a little bit, but I think a lot of you can draw a lot of inspiration from watching that. Actually, I think the opening scene, the head cop of the tribal police, Joe Leaphorn, he's got somebody out digging a hole in the middle of the desert with a bag of artifacts that he makes them put back.
Huh.
So I mean, it's interesting. It's like regular TV show, 48-minute episodes or something like that. And it's on Netflix. So if you wanted to, you could watch a couple of seasons of that. Might get some ideas from it. Might get some ideas of what not to do from it. But the Native Americans respect that series. So that's one of the reasons I mentioned it, because you have a white writer, or had a white writer. I think Tony Hillerman's dead, but had a white writer that the Native Americans respected the way that he treated their characters enough to name him a friend of the Navajo. Like that's a literal thing. I don't even know what it would be called. Honor, like a literal.
Yeah, I know what you're
highest
talking
honor
about.
the highest honor you could give a non-native
Right.
or whatever. So throughout the show, it explores a little bit about family and family dynamics too, which, you know, how The Godfather was interesting because of the family dynamics. You know, like what everybody thought was just a gangster movie, but it wasn't a gangster movie. The gangsterism was built around his family and protecting his family and growing his family and taking care of his family any way that he could. So you have a little bit of that with Native American instead of Italian, Sicilian. So anyway, I just thought, you know, with you mentioning that, you might find that interesting too. I always find when somebody's complimenting somebody not of their culture for representing their culture well, it makes me want to see what they represented. So, and for me, I'm small part Lakota, so there's that other end that's interesting. So.
Nice. Oh my! I swear I'm having a hot flash. Like it wasn't hot today. It wasn't hot earlier, and now I'm starting to sweat through my shirt. Just sitting here.
Is it hot in your room?
I doubt it. It's got an air conditioner. I never. Ugh. God. Like I'm dripping over here. Not the good way. Lovely.
Good way, like the kids mean dripping is stylish.
Right.
My wife just told me that today. I would have had no fucking clue. Like, what? somebody called me dripping, I think I'd have to fucking have words with him. You're fucking dripping. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to do a couple of these sketches until I get something I really like.
Oh, that makes sense.
You see the... See the triangle composition.
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty noticeable.
What's that?
Well, I'm just saying that I suppose if you know, I don't necessarily know if it's so obvious that it seems like I don't know how to put it. I can see the triangle composition. It's great.
Yeah, well, it's just laying out ideas. There definitely can be other people involved, and that I might extend that triangle composition out and widen it out. You don't sound like you're feeling so good.
I'm just melting. Ugh. I hate this. Ugh.
You still dealing with the stuff that you were dealing with?
Well, so the first week of school, I threw my back out somehow. Like you saw me, I was miserable, and yesterday I only took naproxen, and today I haven't had anything, and it hasn't felt bad, but I'm beginning to wonder if I'm missing some of the drugs. I don't know. Like I'm just coming down off them or what. I don't know. But I don't like having night sweats, which is basically what this feels like. And what's stupid is I'm sure give me 20 minutes, it'll go away because I said it's like a hot flash. I'm going through menopause. So
You're going through menopause.
Hey, whatever you are into, I guess.
Not menopause. That's not what I'm into.
My son, my family's already, we sweat. We're sweaters. That's all there is to it. It's just, we definitely perspire. And my son's got that same gene. And then part of the medication that one of them takes, that's one of the side effects is excessive sweating. And yeah, he gets just drenched.
Like Mystery Man?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember, God, there was one night he was wearing the mascot costume, and when he took off the costume, it looked like he had been swimming in his clothes. It's just so nasty. Like I'm talking like that. It was completely soaked and sticking to him, and I was like, ugh. Just don't like it. He also complained. I mean, part of the problem with some of that medicine is that it makes him sweaty and gross, but then he's also, thirsty all the time. So it's fun. Oh. I also keep thinking, I have to get through tomorrow. I also think we're going to a football game, but not for my school. Nope.
Not for your school?
I'll be going to my boys' school because, yep. My boys have to play or they don't have to, but they play in the band at their new school. And the band plays at football games, and I guess we're going. And can't wait to post pics of that.
No.
I'm sorry, but when my son was in middle school, they set up this plan where basically by the end of your sophomore year, you have like nothing left to take, or nothing you have to take. So like you've earned all your basic credits, and my son was on that path. And that superintendent left, whatever. And the principal became the superintendent. And then we got a new principal. And we started looking, we were having problems with the school. And I was like, you know what? What classes does he need? And he only needed government and econ. That was the only thing he had to take. And I was like, why don't you just put him on Play-Doh, let him take it now. He'll graduate. I said, he'll graduate at the end of last year. And principal wouldn't even meet with us. Made her lackeys do it. And then she's like, oh, we'll have to have a meeting about that. And then when I got to the meeting, I'm assuming that Dr. Hunt said that her decision was no. It's like, then why the hell am I having a meeting? It was ridiculous. And I told him, I was like, look, he either graduates this year from Marion or he doesn't graduate from Marion ever. And, I was like, it's stupid. Like, you guys set this up. Well, that's a former administration. Like, I don't care. It's a student that was here the entire time. It's like, if you guys can't honor it, it's like, I don't really care. And that's what, again, it was just one more thing that just, it's why my kids don't need to be there. And if the principal's that short-sighted, I don't care. She was just, and I pointed this out. I was like, if my boy was pregnant or a troublemaker, you'd be pushing this deal. But for some reason, you want to be a petty narcissist, so you don't want to, fine, whatever. But my kid doesn't go here anymore. And yeah, we pulled him. And I have no problem telling everyone that I would not put my children in that school. So I did. We had a different administration. No problems with them being there. But with that administration, nope, not going to do it. Rich, with that inspiring speech. It's 11 o'clock, man. So,
Yeah, I'm getting pretty close.
well,
Just weighing some ideas and
I will talk to you later. And we're on for Saturday, right?
to the best of my knowledge, we are.
Okay. Well, to my best of my knowledge, we are too. I'm just making sure. So I'll see you then.
All right.
See you, Aaron. See you, Adam. Thanks everyone who came. Allison, if you're still there, thank you. Jay, if you're still there, thank you. It was nice to talk to y'all. Peace out. See you guys.
And now Discord. who hung out to the end, but that's pretty much it. I'm probably gonna maybe add another attacker over here and interrupt this edge with one over here so that he looks very well surrounded by giants. So, yep. Everyone who watched, thanks for watching. Everyone that liked, subscribed, followed, thank you for subscribing, and following. And Allison, thanks for showing up. Eek, thanks for showing up. And Jay and Digital Tantrum. You guys have a great night. Good night. God bless. Much love.